Kenneth, thank you so much for your patience. Let's just really talk about subscription rates. What's expected today, looking at today's T-bills auction?
All right. So we expect that the T-bills that will be up on offer today would be pretty much, the interest would be more on the long end of the curve for obvious reasons. Yeah. In line with what we've seen with the previous OMO auctions, we've seen that rates have obviously, the stop rates have been printing at has printed at 17.5 and 17.9. We expect the NTB auctions to actually toe the same line. So by default, people will be more interested in inclining towards that angle, so towards that the long end. So yeah, we expect that subscription will be high on the long end of the curve. Because what's really up?
Yes.
What's really up on? What is really up on the shorter end on 91 and 182 days is less than about 10 billion. So yes, the interest would be more on the long end. So subscription should be high on that end.
Well, let's bring into focus just a little bit now when we're talking about the elevated liquidity and the impact on the market now. How liquid will the market be near term as we are inching further into the month of November?
So yes, we have seen that Monday started off with the liquidity at about 451 levels, and only for us to get in yesterday, and then we found out that the liquidity situation had moved up to 544 billion. Now, what we saw next was that there was a reaction by the central bank. There were CRR debits passed across unspecified number of banks. So that, of course, would naturally draw the liquidity situation to maybe give or take around 280 levels.
And while the market is still awaiting the result of today's auction now, how long will it take for it to shrug off this wait-and-see approach? Because the market has largely been bearish or quiet. But for you now, investor leanings, how do you see things panning out in the coming days for the rest of this week?
Oh yeah, like you rightly pointed out, yes, investors, the fixed income market has actually been trading on very bearish sentiments on both the treasury bills and the bond side. We have seen instances wherein treasury bills is pretty quiet, obviously, has experienced a very quiet week, obviously, for obvious reasons. We understand that everybody is waiting for the NTB auctions results to be announced, and then we will see that things will pick up on that side. But on the bond side, of course, not really not much is happening. Of course, it's just pretty much seeing a lot of sell interest with little or no activities, or the only activities we get to see are more along the lines of the 2025 and 2036 papers. But we expect that everybody will be cautious approach, but with expectations for the bond auction that's come up on Monday. Then and then we see people reacting to what happens at the bond auction on Monday.
No doubt. Well, let's also talk about the FX market now. We're seeing the rebound of the naira, but there's some feelers from the parallel market that the naira is also trading at about 1,030 to 1,050 naira, the parallel market. But I know you play within the official market, so let's talk about the rebound. How sustainable is this, what we're seeing here at the NAFEM?
So I would like to add that it's important to note that the naira did strengthen last week as opposed to this week, because what we've seen this week is the fact that the naira has depreciated further, actually. Closed yesterday at 869 levels, as opposed to 809 where we started on Monday. Yeah. Now, and then when you consider that week on week with what we had on last week, we see that the naira was trading around 700 levels. That was clear indication of the reaction of people based off of the FX forward deliveries that CBN did give to some number of banks last week. Yeah, but by and large, what we are expecting is that the naira will continue to play around these levels because, of course, as we know, the demand is always higher than supply. And to address the demand issues, we will continually have the naira playing at these levels.
And gradually now conversation points are already inching to what to expect when we're looking at inflation figures, and also we are already setting the agenda ahead for the new governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria for their meeting later this month. But for you, what sort of numbers should we expect for inflation, and how will the market react?
We would expect a very conservative. It is first off, you should realize that this is the first auction, first MPC for this new administration. So we'd expect that the numbers would be quite conservative. If there are hikes, there will be hikes. We of course expect the hikes would be very conservative on both the...
Some say 25 to 50 basis points max.
Oh, yeah, well, yes, about that range, yes. I told the same line with them.
Well, Kenneth, thank you so much for your time on the show today. We'll definitely keep our tabs on the outcome of today's T-bills auction and then follow up later on Friday. Thank you so much. Well, that was Kenneth Onuoha, team member, assets and liabilities at UBA. Well,